Hello everyone and welcome back to the Hardcore Cottagecore Let's Play. Last episode we started to make the skeleton farm, or well, we did actually complete the redstone part of this farm. Obviously I've spent a lot of time here in the last episode, which means that I've been getting a lot of materials from this and a lot of experience levels. And in between episodes I did take the time to rearrange my stuff and get a little bit organized. I even separated all the different loot types with the armor and the bows and everything. And this is also how many bone blocks we have, so definitely a lot of bone meal has been collected so far. And not to mention, the experience levels have also been crazy. I even was able to finally enchant my sword. It's not full looting 3 or anything, but it does have looting 2 and sharpness 3. So that's decent enough, and after all of that time, I just kind of decided to take what I could get. I should also mention that I have started a Discord for the channel, and the link for that will be in the description of every single video if you do want to join. It's completely free, it's just a place to talk about Minecraft builds and stuff like that. So if you are interested, again, the link is in the description. But anyways, one of the main struggles that I faced while organizing everything, like a responsible Minecrafter, was getting up and down to the surface. I even broke apart part of this wall to then go to the bubble elevator in our mine shaft, like I had been doing all of last episode, except it was covered up. So I really should fix that and actually use the staircase that we made last time by, well, transforming it into another bubble elevator, because the situation has become quite dire and I need to just not have holes in this place. So the first thing I'll do is set that up, and I'm even thinking of decorating it to make it look more official. It's a little bit more noticeable than I thought it was going to be, so for this one I'm going to actually put some effort in to do the walls and stuff. And for that, I'm thinking I'll use some moss and of course some bone blocks. And maybe some dorite for that transition, although well, maybe dorite is actually brighter than bone blocks. In that case, I guess I'll just use some mossy stone bricks maybe, to have a nice little transition between all of them. That is going to mean using some of my precious stone, but we should be getting more as we dig out these walls. Or at least I'm hoping so, but we definitely will probably have to gather more of this. But I am still a little bit traumatized from digging this whole room out. That might be a little bit dramatic, but it's the truth. But yeah, this is the hallway to the staircase. I've kind of poked out into the main room a little bit here just because I wanted to have it like oriented this way. And I had already planned to kind of have a centrally located staircase, and I didn't want to have one just kind of smushed in the corner there. So we do have a little bit of like a loop going on to reach the actual bubble column. But I think it'll be okay. I'll just need to like expand this by 1 because it is just a 2x2 little tiny staircase. So I guess I'll start by digging out one of the walls and just replacing it with these big patches of blocks, which should look okay because I'll be falling through these things so fast that some bigger patches of these different colors won't even look that weird. Well, at least in theory. And I did dig the staircase out last episode, so I'm assuming I'm not gonna dig into any lava or anything scary like that. Oh, and I found the cave that I found last episode. Hopefully nothing spawns on me while I'm in here for just a second. And we've officially broken out of deep slate, which is good. This is where I make back all of the smooth stone that I've used in this. Oh my gosh, gravel. Oh no, I did not think about that as a danger, but it's a little bit scary. Is this the final dirt layer? Oh, never mind, maybe not. Or maybe this one is? Yay, daylight! Or, well, moonlight, on a very stormy and scary looking night, actually. Maybe I'll take a nice little dirt nap right here. Anyways, oh, I hear a skeleton up there, I think. It's just a little bit ironic. Let's see, is it safe? Oh, it is, and we're actually inside our skeleton horse pen? I guess that does make sense if it was 1 block over and then behind. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so it's the background for that tunnel. I was a little bit worried there for a second that I had dug in the wrong place, but it all worked out. So now I'm basically just gonna go back down and do this on all of the other sides of these tunnels. Okay, that was a lot of effort, but I'm sure it'll be worth it. We ended back up here by the barn, which means that I will have to dig down to get down to the spawner again. But that's good because I do need some kelp and probably... Well, actually, I think both of my water buckets might be all the way down in the spawner room. But we can at least grab the kelp, which I thought that I had in one of these chests. Or maybe not. Gosh, now I'm trying to think of where I could have possibly left that. I don't know what I would have used it for last, or where in the world it might have ended up. But I do know that I had over a stack for when we made the bubble elevator last time. It's just anybody's guess where I put it after I was done with it. I don't think there's very many places that I have extra barrels and things. Unless maybe it's in the farmhouse. I know there's some places where I put random things sometimes, such as stacks of dirt. I should also mention, since it's so loud, that we have a lot of villagers that have spawned. Since I fixed this farm, I forgot that it was kind of running that well, and I didn't shut it off, so there's like an insane amount of villagers in that hole now. I'm kind of tempted to let them all loose and just see what happens with them, just to test if they can actually escape the village, but that'll have to be for another time. Maybe that'll be the plan for the next episode. Wait, I actually just realized I'm very, very silly. The kelp is what I've been using to measure my donkeys. Obviously, where else would it be? So I'm gonna borrow this, I think. I don't need a ton of it, probably. And I should be able to grow it up if I need to replace it. And I think that I've got soul sand in one of these bundles somewhere. At least I think so. It's hard to tell now that I've stored so much stuff in this one. That's one thing I really wish that Minecraft would fix, is just being able to scroll through the entirety of the items that we've got in the bundles. I was fairly confident, but I didn't want to get all the way down to the bottom of the world without it. So yeah, since we expanded this, none of this is dug out at all, so I'm gonna have to unfortunately dig straight down and hope that I didn't leave a giant gap in here, which I'm pretty sure I didn't. Oh my gosh, that scared me, but we reached the bottom. I'll just grab my 2 water buckets, and I think this tunnel down here will be the drop chute, so I'll make another little infinite water source. And I actually didn't bring a door or anything for this, so for right now I think we're just gonna have to use 2 trapdoors. And then I forgot how I did this on the last one, meaning the one over by my mine shaft, not the little one that we did right there, because this can be a little bit dangerous. So I think that I'm gonna do it the safe way, which also happens to be the very, very slow way, and just inch my way up like this. If this wasn't hardcore, I'd be more inclined to just risk it, but I'm a little bit too scared to do that in this situation. I think that I see the light way up in the distance up there. It's really just a little pinprick at the moment, but we're making progress. Slowly but surely. Okay, I think we almost made it. And of course it's nighttime and I haven't actually made a doorway for this area, or secured it, like, at all. Maybe that should have been the first step, before actually making this an elevator. Now I'm gonna dig down in this tunnel because this is partially dug out because the staircase was here. So we will be taking a little bit of damage doing this, but I think that our feather falling will save us, for the most part. I mean, at least it's consistent. Okay, good. I am glad that that is over. Now I think that we can get rid of the water source here, and just leave this as a block. Oops. Okay, so here goes the test. And it's working! Good. It's a shame that I didn't put lights down here, so you can't really see all of the decoration that I put in there. But for this one you kind of can. Oh my gosh, that torch falling. Alright, so maybe this is not as noticeable. I'm not entirely sure that was worth all of the effort, but at least we can say it's a very decorated and fully completed water column. The last thing I should do is gather some materials to make a little mini hut above ground, just so that it's actually safe for us whenever we're using that. Keeping in line with the underground theme up here, I'll decorate the very small floor with some deep slate, and then out here, let's see, this will jut out just a little bit, not too much though, and then maybe I'll do a roof slanting up into the hillside, instead of a triangle one that meets in the middle. It's not really meant to be a secret bunker, but maybe just having it be a little bit out of the way isn't a bad thing. Now I did say I was going to make a path down here, although the area that we're working with is a little bit cramped. But you know what, maybe just a very subtle path in between the dandelions. That way you can kind of tell where you're going without having it disrupt anything up here. Yeah, and then maybe I'll just do some basic spruce doors for this. I would do more pale oak wood, but I don't think I actually have any. And the spruce doors I think are a little bit more discreet. Although I might have to do the doors maybe 1 block out from this, just so I can have a proper staircase leading down here. There we go. I think that it would look a little bit funky on a different build, but I think this one doesn't really matter that the doors randomly jut out, because you'll barely even really notice it. Okay, I kind of tried to neaten it up in here a little bit. Although maybe I will leave like a crafting table in here just for convenience because I don't think there's one in the barn anywhere up there. And yeah, that should do it for a little interior space like this. The main thing I should work on is the entrance and exit down here, and really just this whole main hallway, although I think it doesn't really need a whole lot other than just maybe some arches in the top. Because again, we'll really just be running through here really quick and not really paying attention, so it doesn't have to be glamorous. I think I'll keep it kind of basic in here and do the same style of archway that we did over there, just a little bit altered, only using one part of it. Especially because this is only a 3-wide hallway, so there's not a ton of room, maybe a little just arch like that, leaning into the other connecting wall a little bit. Maybe for this hallway I'll just do an even smaller modified version with just a slab, or maybe not. Maybe we do it one up higher with just kind of a smaller arch, but we'll see how much space of this I actually use. I might have to come back in and rearrange some of this if the back wall designs encroach on this too much. But for right now, I think that's good enough. These trapdoors I don't think will be here in the future. As for this hallway, I need to figure out how long it actually is. If it's an odd number of blocks, that would actually be really good. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4? Okay, well maybe we'll just do one right down the middle, right here, and then I'll kind of connect it to the wall with some torches, maybe? And yeah, that's good. I'm not putting as much effort into this as I am for the main area, because I don't think this will ever be shown on camera again. I'll just be running through it whenever I need to get down here to the skeleton farm. And oh my gosh, there are glow squid. That's another thing that I have been noticing, is that we've been getting some glowing sacks from the farm, and I think more and more have been spawning for whatever reason. It's because we are so far down in the world that anywhere there's water, these guys are gonna spawn, so I don't know, maybe we could do some aquariums down here and see if we could get them to naturally spawn instead of spawning in there. I don't know if it would prevent them 100% from spawning inside that chamber, but it might reduce them a little bit, just so that it doesn't affect the skeleton drop rate. I do have some glass left over from making tinted glass last episode, so it would be pretty easy to dig this out further back and then make a little aquarium for them. Maybe even going all the way up to the ceiling. I don't know how they like to spawn, or if that would even get them to spawn in a pool of water like that, or it would be narrow and tall, but it's worth a try. I'll craft up a couple of forms of deep slate for a trim around the tank, because this might be random, but I still do want it to look decent. And now that I'm actually building in this room, I'm realizing how dark it is. I'll definitely need to find a bunch of creative points of light sources, at least in the areas that I'm going to be in the most. Especially where so far my solution has been torch spam absolutely everywhere. I'll have to get a little bit more creative than that, I think. But yeah, I think I'll dig this down maybe 1 block for now. There's nothing stopping us really from digging it down a little bit more, although we will start to hit bedrock pretty soon. I guess within like 3 blocks of this. But they should have plenty of space. It'll really just be if they don't spawn that it'll be a problem. Judging from how they're spawning in that skeleton room over there, I don't think that it has to be fully source blocks. So I think we'll just flood the top, maybe? Oh my gosh, and I've trapped myself in this water cage. That was very poor planning. It's a good thing I have a high efficiency pickaxe. Yeah, maybe I will dig this down a couple blocks just for easier access. Oh my gosh, and there's already a piece of bedrock right there. I did want to have more pools of water like this, being pretty deep, but the bedrock might foil my plans there a little bit. Okay, that should be all filled in now, and I think all we have to do is wait for them to spawn. Although, maybe for a cool backdrop I could actually use some kelp. I'll only plant the first row to let it grow up. That way I can still return it back to my donkey tester. But I think that a backdrop of kind of a greenish blue will look a lot better than just the deep slate. And now that I think about it, this room is going to be very symmetrical, so now that I've done this one on this side, I do need to do another one on the other side. Really just the exact same thing, but it will double our chances of getting a glow squid to spawn. Just like that, the aquarium has been mirrored to the other side. While I was doing that, you probably saw there was a baby zombie that came and attacked me. That wasn't very cool. Probably it's because there's so many dark spots up there and a lot of floating blocks from digging this place out that are very, very spawnable. Especially, I guess, since it was a baby zombie, he would have only had to have 1 block of height. So yeah, that'll be something that's easily fixed once we actually start building in here. But to do that, I do need some more materials. Obviously, all of the stone stuff is good, but I do need some pale oak wood, as well as a few detail blocks like some leaves and some plant pots and chains and things. However, I think that pale oak wood is going to be the thing I need the most of, because I was thinking the backdrop here would be nice if it wasn't all stone, just to kind of break it up a little bit. So I think behind the chests and on this wall here will all be the logs of pale oak wood, which makes it just that much more expensive. So I'll head back up to the surface. And I think pale oak might be the only tree that I don't have growing in this mismatched forest out here, so I'll have to plant one. And for some reason I didn't bring any bones with me, so I have no bone meal to do that. But I'll set it up right here, and since I don't have that many of them, I might need to use my fortune pickaxe to chop some of the leaves. Although we did get a lot of diamonds last episode, plus we have so many enchanting levels from the spawner, that it might be worth it to actually make a second hoe, and try our very best to maybe get fortune on it. I'll do the same thing that we did with our sword last time and just re-roll it. Oh my gosh, never mind, immediately. Oh my gosh, that's a good hoe. What the heck? Why couldn't I have gotten that luck on my sword? Well, either way, that's really good. I might put mending on it eventually. I do have some emerald on me right now, so I guess we could do that. I do have a pretty good mending trade that one of my villagers gives me in here. I will have to buy a bookshelf first, though, to get the book part. But 22 emeralds for mending, and then I do have an efficiency 4 guy, I think. Oh, never mind, it is efficiency 5. You know what the heck, I might as well improve it to be the very best hoe that it can be. I just know that I've got plenty of pumpkins and melons stacking up here that I can trade. The one thing that this little bookshop is missing is an Unbreaking 3 villager, because it would be nice to enchant my Fortune 3 pickaxe with that, so that everything is even. Oh, and my sword as well, now that I'm looking at it. I suppose I could use a villager from my mob of them that I've got down there. Maybe it'll happen next episode when they're all running about. And let's see, I know this is going to take up a whole lot of my levels, or maybe not. Can't believe it only costs 2 levels to put mending on that, and 6 for the efficiency, but that is way better than I thought it was going to be. Now I just need some bone meal for that dang tree. I might actually have some laying around in my moss farm, plus that is one of the other blocks that we need, so maybe I'll just run this for a little bit. Oh, and I do actually have some bone meal in here. Let's see, can we get this to grow in 8 bone meal? Well, I guess we can. Oh my gosh, that is so many saplings. It's so nice not to be lingering on the very edge of running out. I'm pretty sure that pale oak and dark oak are kind of the same for how few saplings that they drop. So it's definitely nice to have a Fortune 3 axe instead of mining them very slowly, one at a time with my pickaxe. But yeah, maybe just a couple more trees and we should be all set. Okay, I've got just over 2 stacks of logs, and I think that I can call it there. I also got 24 saplings while doing that, which is so good. This hoe will take up another inventory slot, but I think that's worth it for how beneficial it is. I might even keep half of these for some random decorations down in the dungeon, because they do kind of match. And they can just be placed on regular blocks, because of course they won't grow if there's just one. The other big item that I need up here is actually some more jack-o'-lanterns. I'm pretty sure that for the lighting sources, I'm going to end up using a lot of jack-o'-lanterns just hidden away. A lot of them just like in the walls and stuff. I really didn't think that this project would be so jack-o'-lantern intensive, but it is really proving to be. Oh, and actually these leaves reminded me that I want to use a couple of azalea leaves as well for a lot of that lush growth, so I might have to bone meal some actual azalea bushes out here to just gather a couple of those. And I kind of forgot that I left this running, but we do have plenty of moss now. It's unlikely that I'll need this much, but it's always better to be safe than sorry. I'll also take a couple of the bushes, and all of the pumpkin seeds that we got should have resulted in at least a couple bone meal. Yeah, there we go. We've got plenty of space in this field that I don't think I need to add another tree to the Stony Shore Forest. Just out here should do. And this time instead I'll go ahead and use my silk touch hoe. I am going to steal the rooted dirt, so this tree will be floating, but just for a second. 2 stacks of those leaves should do as well. For some variation, I'll also take a stack of oak leaves to mix in there. For some other plants, I think I'll bring some drip leaf, and maybe even a bit of our small drip leaf as well. I wish that I actually had a source of sea pickles, but I don't think I've found a warm ocean biome yet, so we'll have to forego those for right now. Another thing that would be cool down there since it's so dark is some firefly bushes, so maybe I'll just steal this and bone meal it once I'm actually close to my bone meal supply again. Another thing that I was thinking about was Using some shroom lights in here, or maybe just one as like a centerpiece. I know we're going to be using a lot of jack-o'-lanterns, so maybe using one of our very, very rare shroom lights could kind of be good in this case. Plus it does look like a giant patch of glowberries all clumped together like that, so maybe I'll hide it like on the ceiling maybe somewhere, and have like a whole bunch of glowberries hanging down around it. Again, getting very, very creative with trying to light that place up down there. I'm hoping that I have, oh yes, some packed mud left over from last episode, because I'm going to use a couple of those for some more light fixtures that are hanging on the walls themselves. And then to go along with that, since they're kind of the same color, maybe just some exposed copper chains. I know I really had to scramble to get them all aged down further than this last episode, but now I'm going to actually scrape some of the oxidization off of there. And I'm going to need some more grates, but it looks like I did not refill this copper room, so I guess let's do that now. Better late than never, you know? Oh, and one block is already aged. That's a good start. And you know what, to give them a good little boost, I'll surround them in all of these oxidized trapdoors. It may not fix the problem, but I think it'll do something to help. Or at least that's the theory that I've been hearing. And I don't know if I'm going to use them, but I think I'll put a couple of copper lanterns around to age, just in case I need them. Plus there's enough that I should have them in the future as well. The last thing that I need is a bunch of iron chains, which I have smelted down all of my iron from last time. Or, well, not all of it, I haven't actually chopped all of the ones that I accidentally self-touched, but definitely enough that I can make all of the chains that we need. Again, a lot of light sources having to go into this thing, so I do need quite a few chains. But yeah, I think that this should be pretty good for all of the stuff that we need. Still waiting on the copper a little bit, as usual. Now, I think that I did have some copper grates from last episode. Oh, never mind, it was only 2. That foils my plan a little bit, because I was thinking that I would install some of the main floor lighting in here. Based on the shape of the room, I thought that we could have 2 long strips of light underneath the pools, kind of like we did on the sides up there. But without the grates, it'll look a little bit weird, but it wouldn't be the end of the world to fill them in later. Everybody's just gotta keep an open mind while we do this. Obviously the lighting has to be the jack-o'-lanterns under here, which wouldn't be so bad if I could cover them up with the grates. But for now they're the centerpiece. I'll just surround them with a little bit of dorite as a nice little ledge here. And then here is where I was going to put the grates, but I think, yeah, the water can still be contained if there's slabs on each side. So we'll do this for now just so you can get most of the effect. I mean, the jack-o'-lanterns are a little bit muted under the water, so it's not as vibrantly orange. I don't think I'll need grates for anything major around here, so I'll throw these first 2 in, and just imagine that along the whole length of both of these. But now that those are in, I should be able to take out most of the surrounding torches, leaving some of the further out ones there for safety. And naturally the next step I think is to work from the ground up and just finish the floor here. Of course, to extend the pathways I'll need more of the polished deep slate, but I'm also going to make use of a little bit of andesite, as well as some chiseled tuff, although the deep slate will be what covers up most of the floor. I'm going to merge these 3 pathways into a single point right here, where it'll start the staircase up into our hallway that we made. This middle one is easy because it can just come straight across, but these ones are going to take a slight curve to then join up to here. This is not a very good rendition. It's a little bit squiggly at the moment, but I'll slowly chisel this out to be a full-blown pathway, and then do the same thing on the other side. Before we put in the andesite and the tuff, I'm going to sketch out where the pools of water will be in between the archways, and since we have so much moss, I might as well use some of that. This will be very much the same as what we did up there, except on a little bit bigger scale, or maybe not bigger necessarily, just taller. So then there'll be more slabs on top of this moss covering it up from most angles. And then in the corners here, it gets a little bit difficult. I'll just kind of follow the pathway and then maybe go diagonal to meet that side. And some of these spots where they connect will be replaced with grates once I actually have them. So yeah, these will be the pools, and then everywhere else I'm just going to fill in with our tuff and andesite. I was thinking they look really, really good together, so I'm going to do a checkerboard pattern. I was thinking about doing something more elaborate, but it's such a small strip that I couldn't really think of how to make it work, so I think a checkerboard is probably the safest bet, because I think that the tuff has a very similar color to the andesite in some spots, so it makes it look like the top of this block is almost like a different rendition of andesite, or at least it does when it's placed next to it in this sense. And now that I'm looking at this floor, I think that I might want to change up the middle row. It looks good as a checkerboard, but I'm thinking that since there's so many different versions of tuff in the game now, it might be cool to use a little bit of polished tuff instead, which won't look very different from the andesite, but just like a very darker color. Because I think that next to the dorite, this whole floor is a little bit too brightly colored, since it will be mostly surrounded by dark colors. Adding that little bit of variation I think helped it fit in with these other pathways a lot better. Oh, and actually I almost forgot to do these little corners over here. Continuing with the tuff, I think that I'm going to make a railing along here with some tuff and maybe some stone bricks to top it. Although I could use chiseled tuff, and then I wouldn't even have to top it with anything because it's got that cool pattern. There we go, just like that. Chiseled tuff is like the closest I think that tuff can be to deep slate, so I think it works as a railing while also having that pattern in it. Instead of continuing this checkerboard pattern underneath the chests, since no one will really notice it, I'll just use even more of our deep slate. And there is a lot of space under here, and I don't think that I'll need all of it to be filled with chests, so maybe I'll go along here and just use some stairs on the underside to smooth the edges out. There we go, I think that looks a little bit better as a nice little underside to our railing. And now I think it's finally time to use all of the pale oak logs that we gathered and just fill in all of these sides. I was also considering using cherry wood for this, but I think it's a little bit too dark, whereas pale oak is a very, very gray color by itself anyways, that kind of matches the rest of this. There we go, I think that definitely looks a lot better. One thing that I might add, other than filling in the rest of the chests, is maybe a little curve of stone, like an archway kind of coming up to meet the tube of skeletons halfway. Something that'll break this up without drawing too much attention to itself. Something like that should work. I did take away the torches because I think it's light enough that it shouldn't be spawnable, but you know, I guess we'll find out. It's also way past the time that I should have added all of those chests in. Alright, but that looks a lot better all filled in like that. I think that the next step for this place is going to be to add in all of the archways and the pillars and stuff. Oh my gosh, but we got a glow squid. My dude, I'm so glad you spawned. I was getting a little bit worried it wouldn't work, because I think so many have been spawning in the skeleton spawner. But look at this dude. He's so bright and happy. Part of me wants to name tag him, so he'll stay, but I think that would ruin the point of keeping them out of that room. But I'm really just happy that one finally spawned. But yeah, anyways, the next step for this place is going to be to actually put in all of the archways that really frames everything in. So let's go ahead and place all of those in really quick. With the addition of the walls in this place, I think that it's changed the vibe in here quite a lot. I also don't know if this is the same glow squid that's been here, but we have had this guy in the tank for a while, so it's very possible it's the same one, but we haven't had anything spawn in this side, I don't think. So I don't know, we'll see if we get anything in there by the end of the episode. But one obvious problem still with this place is how dark it is. Our lovely glow squid does do a little bit to help that on at least this part, but I think I am going to add the lanterns in now to brighten up the walls. It'll be kind of a basic hanging lantern, but I was thinking on top, since it does go into the very dark roof, which I don't plan on lighting up a whole lot, I think it would be a good place for some firefly bushes. I did just grab the one, but now we do have access to all of our bone meal from our bones. So I'll grab a little bit of dirt and temporarily place it over here as a nice little platform to grow these on. Now that we've got all of these bones, our plant supply is pretty much unlimited, so I can get as many of these as I ever could want, which in this case 13 is probably enough. And I'll use some spruce logs, some spruce fences, which I think I have in here somewhere, as well as the mud brick walls, to make a very common design of a lantern by easing it down into a point with the walls and the fences. And then finally a lantern right there to give a little bit of light on the ground floor, but of course it doesn't extend very far up, so that's where our firefly bushes will come in. They themselves don't generate any light, but I think having some brightly colored particles kind of just floating around in the ceiling would be super, super cool. I know some people like to hide them underground in their bases to give the particles without it having to be dark, but I think this is the perfect use case for them, having them completely visible and still particle-ifying the space. I also don't know why I'm not just using scaffolding. I did make some specifically for doing the pillars up there, then I just kind of abandoned it for dirt again. But dirt pillar aside, we'll just repeat this same pattern on almost all of the wall slots. I do want to have it be mixed up a little bit, like maybe not having a giant hanging lantern where the staircase is, but on most of these, I think I'll just do the same design. Okay, you know what? I am switching to scaffolding. Now that I've gotten kind of used to using it, I don't think I can go back to dirt. It still doesn't prevent me from doing that, though. Okay, I think that's all of the lanterns that I'm gonna put in here like this, but I think they look so good with the light and the darkness contrasting each other. I have noticed that they don't give off a lot of particles unless you're like right next to them, which is kind of crazy because it shows how big this room is. But even if they just put off a couple of particles from each plant, it'll be super magical in here. And I feel pretty safe taking away the torches at this point. Oh, and I can also include another 2 lanterns in here. I did this entryway point, and instead of having torches, I'll put 2 lanterns on either side. To switch it up a little bit, I'll use some copper ones, like we did next to the spawner out there. And that looks a little bit better, I think. Although it is still very dark on the ground floor here. I haven't dug out all of these pools of water yet, but I might attempt... Oh, I've trapped myself. But I might attempt to do the same thing with jack-o'-lanterns. Like maybe a block below this where you really won't see this block if you're always walking from this side, so it might be cool to have some like recessed lighting in here. And I did prepare a bunch of jack-o'-lanterns for cases such as this. I mean, 42 hopefully will be enough. Oh, I also forgot that I did go back to the copper room and got some copper grates. And I think that should be enough for what we need, because there will be grates over here. Probably we don't need any more grates in here, we can just do the plain jack-o'-lanterns. And I'll dig this down one. Yeah, just like that. It almost looks like it's just extra lamp light. Like the lanterns are way brighter than they are normally. So that's kind of nice like that. And you know what? Maybe I'll get some of my green wool and actually work on the sides of the pool and then fill it with water. I'm not sure how far we'll be able to dig down here. Oh yeah, I guess just this far, only a couple of blocks, but that'll still be good. I did have grand ambitions. Oh no, our glow squid. Oh gosh. Oops, I broke into his aquarium. I'm sorry, my guy. Anyways, as I was saying, I had grand plans of getting more green terracotta for a darker green color in the pools, but that didn't quite work out, so I'm just using the green wool. And for the bottom, I'll just leave it stone because of the bedrock. Anything green would just look really, really weird in here. But yeah, here's a more finished look at the pool. You really can't see the jack-o'-lanterns at all, unless you're crouching over the edge, but maybe I'll put some plant growth, like maybe some vines or something over it. Actually, it's not entirely green, but I think glow lichen can grow underwater. And that's another thing that I can freely bone meal now. So I'll go ahead and duplicate some of that. And let's see, I know this will also give a little bit of extra light, but it won't affect it too much. Yeah, it doesn't do a lot of camouflaging, but now that it's so easy to get, I think I'm gonna just do this on all of them anyways. My shears also have mending on them, so they're super easy to repair with our awesome farm. Oh, and I also should actually finish this pool over here with our glow squid. Not that I forgot about him. In this one, I actually don't think I'll do any jack-o'-lanterns or anything, just because it'll be easier to tell if there's any glow squid in here if it's all dark. Although maybe just some glow lichen in a strip like this could be cool. It'll be very, very subtle, but just a hint of lighting so you can see in here. And then I won't make this entire thing mossy back here, it'll be mostly deep slate, but I'll still use a little bit to blend it in. Oh, I've also realized that I added an extra layer of glass that I didn't need to. So removing this will give them just a little bit more space to spawn. There we go, now the pool looks a little bit better. And I think that we're going to be running into patches of bedrock at a similar level every time. So all of the pools should stay about the same depth. Not that it'll be noticeable if they aren't, but just for uniformity's sake, I'm going to assume that they are. Okay, I love how these are looking now with the pools all in place. It gives a lot more light and makes it feel a lot safer in general. So I think I might even do the same thing on these kind of slanted bits where the staircase is. That is, if I actually have enough jack-o'-lanterns and copper grates for that. And surprisingly, jack-o'-lanterns might be more of the problem. Let's see, I'm using 7 for each side, so I will need a couple more, but can at least do this one and get that all set up. I'm going to use a tad bit more mossy cobblestone to fill in the gaps, and just generally cover up the deep slate. And then I'll cover these with some copper grates. And lastly, fill this whole thing, I think, with water. Oh, but not if I just put it in a grate. It doesn't work like that. I guess I need to waterlog these grates first. Then maybe if I crouch and hold. Yeah, there we go. It creates a nice little waterfall that's also very brightly lit, but that's not a bad thing in this case. I don't love how it goes up, but I guess that's because I need to start it one lower maybe, which might not make sense for it flowing out of the grates, but I think it'll look a little bit better. Yeah, I mean, maybe the grates are kind of holding back some of the water, that way it's not so, like, lumpy, I guess, in the waterfall. But to do this other side, I will need a couple more jack-o'-lanterns, so I'll take a quick break from our lovely underground dungeon. And of course, it's raining outside. I don't even get to see the sun today. Oh well, at least I have my pumpkin patch, where I should only need 6 more jack-o'-lanterns, but I may as well get a couple extra while I'm up here. And you know what, the jungle leaves just reminded me of something as I was walking by. They might be cool to use as some more lush growth in the pools once we set all of that up. Hopefully that won't affect my sapling rate too much, but I think it's worth it because they have that different texture to them with the little mini cocoa pods, or whatever those are supposed to be. Okay, I think that was the final stray torch in this area, and now I think that we've got pretty good lighting everywhere in here. The only dark spot that's really a problem is kind of this main area, but if I'm going to do any hanging lights, I will need to do the roof first. And I did grab a lot of dark oak for this, kind of like what we did up here, but I'm not entirely confident that this will be enough, because I'm also going to use a little bit of spruce wood, and that might even run out before the dark oak does. I'll go ahead and break out my trusty scaffolding, and you know what, I'm actually going to put a torch in my offhand instead of a shield for a minute, just so you guys can actually see what I'm doing up there. We'll start off with like a similar archway as what we did in the smaller spaces. That way it matches what we've done with the stone. And then we'll go in straight lines up here, but I'm going to alternate some spruce logs. Not that way though, but it'll help add some variation in here because there will be a lot of ceiling to this place, which again is very, very dark, but I think if we add just a big centerpiece, like a hanging light, it will make it a little bit more noticeable. So yeah, I'll continue this pattern. It might be a little bit difficult because I am trying to kind of ease it upwards to again match the stone archway. So we might have to have some sections that are just dark oak slabs. But if I just dig out a little bit more of the ceiling, we can add in some more symmetrical spruce beams that might be a little bit farther apart. But they're still kind of at the same frequency as we have been doing with every other 2, but this one is 3, so I think that's fine for the middle part. Okay, so it's pretty much invisible from the ground floor, but you can kind of see from up here on the scaffolding that it's 1 spruce beam and then 1 dark oak, and then it goes 2 dark oak, and then another 2, and then 3 in the middle. So I think that's a pretty good ratio. And again, I will have to do something up there so you can kind of see at least a little bit of the roof. But you can kind of tell it's different from the deep slate a little bit. You can't really see any of the variation in it, but at least the color is somewhat notable. And I'm going to repeat this on all sides, but it might be better to jump into a time lapse, that way I can adjust the brightness and everything so you guys can actually see. The night vision feature is going to come in really handy for this, I think. Yeah, so as expected, you can't really see it from down here, but it is all completed, I promise. And for some reason the glow squid are still spawning in that tank. I don't think we've had a new one in either of these in a while. But anyways, I'm going to make a giant light fixture, I think from here, using some glowberries and maybe some hanging lanterns. We've got these 2 little mini glowberry lights on these sides, and I think they look really, really cool. And to do that on a bigger scale, I think we would need something else besides just the vines hanging down. So I'm going to gather all of our chains that we made. Originally I was thinking I would do some kind of dotted around to evenly light up the ceiling, but I think that would make it look too chaotic in here with everything else that we've got going on. So instead we'll do 1 big glowberry vine in the middle and maybe surround it with some hanging lanterns. And I'm thinking I'll go for kind of like a spirally design, going almost all the way down to the floor, or maybe like 4 or 5 blocks above that. But luckily we do have enough dark oak left over where I can make some fences. That'll act like as a supporter for the chains at the very top. And then I did bring a couple of glowberries, but I will need a little bit more than that. But now that I can easily bone meal them, that's no problem. And yeah, so I guess it makes the most sense to kind of do it in the center here. Although that would be blocking, if it comes down to here, that would block a lot of this wall over there. And I was thinking I would do a lot of plant life that I want to also be visible. So maybe we'll come out to like a little bit closer to these lights, but not too much, so it'll still give a lot of light to this area without being too intrusive. So I'll do a little 3x3 one. That way it actually fits between the stone arches. And then I'll also hold them in my offhand for a little bit of light. Although you know what, actually, if I was smart about this, I could just bone meal a couple of these. That way it's actually nice and bright up here. Now to hang the lanterns off, I think I'm gonna do just the outsides, not in the corners, but just almost like a circle around them. That way when we do the spiral, it'll be a little bit more elegant and less blocky. Anyways, we can then hang some chains down from these, which is a little bit hard to do because they have such a small hitbox. So very, very delicately in here, trying very hard not to disturb the glowberries. So to start the spiral of lanterns at the very, very top here, I guess that one should be a lantern, and then maybe since I have extra fences that I made, I'll do a little bit of an accent of dark oak in here. Or I guess I just want the lanterns to go down one block at a time, so this is a little bit too tall. It might look a little bit weird on this first one, but the dark oak will be connected, and then like that, gradually coming down. I am really, really grateful for my feather falling boots right now, because I keep having to destroy those chains, and I'm way too impatient to be climbing the scaffolding all the time. But I think this will be the first one where it looks a little bit normal. For how the rest of these are going to end up looking. It's just to break up the chains and make them a little bit more visible. I was also thinking about including maybe a copper chain, like the green ones that we used on those, but I think it would still be a little bit too similar. Although maybe it would have been cool to have them in the ceiling, like the water's kind of leaking down, that teal turquoise color, but maybe next time. For now, I think this design has enough going on with all the glowberries. They're really taking up a lot of attention up at the top. The problem though is that if I have messed up any single lantern and it's not how it's supposed to be, I'll then have to go back and change everything to make it that perfect spiral. But so far, I think they all look good. There we have it, our lovely spiral. I guess chandelier you could call it. I'm not sure how long I want those glowberries to fall, but maybe just a couple blocks more. That way there can be even more light at the top, and I think that it really does help light up the area. It even reaches as far as like over there, so you can really see the color of the roof, which is good because that was a lot of work that I didn't want to go to waste. But yeah, now I think this thing is looking very structurally sound, and the lighting is all taken care of. So all of the other stuff is really just decorative, mainly focused around plants and things. So I guess I'll keep working from this direction outward, and we can start by adding some plants to this wall. I was thinking about small decorative blocks while I was building that, and one thing that I've forgotten about until this point was levers. Since we're using so much stone, they're really good for like a detail block to smooth things out, and in this case, we can attach them to the wall and then hang some plants from them. This is also what I'm going to use our copper chains for. A lot of people like these because they look like ropes, so that's what I'm going to use them for here, along with maybe some spruce leaves to keep with that very dark, rich color. And then I'll do some trapdoors to support them, and some signs on the outside to look like a little planter box, or maybe even an odd plant pot depending how you look at it. And yeah, something like that I think will do. I don't know if anybody has noticed, but I guess I'll point it out that this archway here is an even number for some reason. It's 4 instead of 3. I guess because that's how long the staircase is. For the height from here to here, it had to go down like that. So there are 2 of these, but they aren't really centered. So I'll just leave you with that. Just don't tell anybody, alright? And everything will be totally fine. Okay, and this isn't really plant related, but I was thinking we could also use the levers on the sides of the archways, because it's so rare that I actually think to use these when using stone, so that little piece matches, but I think in this case it really works out. I'll try not to overuse them, like I could do both of the archways, but I think that's a little bit much. Maybe just keeping it to the inner one will work, because I mean the walls are great, but they do need a little bit of help to smooth out that edge. And it also does tie in with the spruce fences a little bit, so I think that all works out. And you know what, maybe even in our 4-block awkward little archway, we could use these to connect the tuff. Yeah, I think that makes it a little bit smoother. I know we've got levers there already, but I don't think you can really tell that they're the same thing. I think I can safely even go along in here and maybe replace the torches with some levers. And then I guess have the torches below them, maybe? I'll admit that is a little bit chaotic, but it might be okay. Because like I said before, this is not a place that will be seen that often, or really paid attention to. We also were able to successfully keep most of this hallway without having any of the columns or anything jut in here. So that's good, and there are a lot of torches here. Maybe, would it be too dark? That actually might be okay, just to have them on the edges. I also should probably actually put the staircase in here. I've been meaning to do that, and then every time I keep forgetting and getting distracted by something else. There we go, that's much better. I also did bring some pale oak shelving to potentially replace these trapdoors. There's really no reason we couldn't just use a door here, but I like the shelves so much that I think we'll just do like that. And then maybe for symmetry's sake, just do something like that. It makes this corner a little bit more harsh to go around, but I don't think it's that inconvenient, and it just makes the design look a little bit more intentional. And maybe I'll even replace these moss blocks up here with some bone blocks to make it look like a proper framed-in entryway. Now, I did get distracted by the levers, but we were doing more plant life, and I think these tall, skinny columns need something. And where they're only 3 wide, I don't think I'll do just a bush. I'll do probably something in like a plant pot, so it's a little bit smaller. We do have these pale oak saplings that we did, but I think they're gonna blend in too much with the wall over there. I think I want something brighter than that. So I think that our best option is gonna be some birch. That way there's a little bit of greenery that'll stand out against the stone. And it's white, so it still kind of matches the skeletons. Let's see, something like that is what I was thinking, but where the sapling is so pointy, it might help to have a couple of leaves on top. And I did bring some just in case. And yeah, I think that's a little bit better. It's a lot brighter than a lot of the other foliage that we've put in so far, so I think it makes a good, like, accent to the main entryway here. Of course, this middle part is missing something, and I think that it has to be foliage related to go with the lush feeling that we've got here. And I forgot that I wanted to use that shroom light in the glowberries, but I think it's good without it. There's so much light up there already. So instead, maybe I'll do an azalea tree with the shroom light behind it to draw some attention to it. Because it is the plant above the entryway, I'm gonna give it a big planter like all of the other ones and not have it just be sitting in a little plant pot. Because I think that also would make it a bit hard to see from down there. So we'll surround it with shelves like we've been doing, with an azalea on top, and then I'll do some leaves, but maybe kind of towards the top of the tree and in the back so it's hidden enough. We can have a shroom light, and then with enough foliage coverage, we should be able to hide it the right amount while still letting a little bit of orange through, and of course giving off plenty of light. And yeah, I think that's a good centerpiece for above the doorway. Obviously, I want like the spawner and like the main light source in the middle to be more attention drawing, I guess. But that's a nice fancy plant to go above the entrance/exit. Everything up here is pretty much taken up by light, but we can start to add some of the foliage in the pools. And I suppose I should be digging these down more. These ones are significantly higher than those ones, so these can actually be super, super deep. And I'll be honest, I probably won't continue the green all the way down on these ones. Mostly because I've already flooded these and it'll be a little bit painful. But just as long as they're the right size, they should look fine. I mean, realistically, anything below just 1 block deep will be better. However, one of the plants that I wanted to include in this is the drip leaf. And I always forget, I don't think... Yeah, they can't be on deep slate, so I might have to get maybe gravel. Oh, it's not gravel. I feel like I do this every single time. So I guess it'll have to be either dirt or maybe we have some pale moss. Well, a little bit of pale moss left over. Well, I guess on these tall ones we have the space to dig down. I was trying to keep it kind of gray to match with the bedrock that's in the lower pools down there. But these ones we can really just fill the whole thing with dirt. Oh my gosh, and I guess they don't become waterlogged when you place them. Which I guess might be because these aren't source blocks at the very bottom. Oh my gosh, and I am going to have to make all of these source blocks to stop the flowing water up there. Yeah, I think I'm making more of a mess than I am fixing this. Okay, well anyways, drip leaf is a bone mealable plant, which means that if I place it, I can just bone meal to whatever height that I want. And yeah, I'll just have a few at varying heights around here. And then a little bit of kelp, and finally I'll bone meal the dirt down here. This does mean there's not a whole lot of room for leaf coverage, but maybe if I just do a little bit for a little extra interest, I think that looks good. I am really wishing I hadn't flooded these tunnels beforehand, but I do have respiration on my helmet, so it's really not that bad. Oh my gosh, a fatal flaw in my plan. Can drip leaf really not grow on moss? Or is it just pale moss? Oh my gosh, it's just pale moss. What the heck? Alright, well, I don't feel like going and getting any clay for this. So we might just be using dirt and seeing how it goes. Although at least we know kelp can grow on bedrock. Okay, that took a lot longer than I thought it would, and honestly a lot of effort to make all of these plants random and not the same, but I think it looks really good, especially with the moss in the back of the wall. It makes it almost more 3D, I guess, having everything grow in here, and I know it kind of like contrasts the dark dungeon vibe that we have in this like main area, but I think it kind of ties in because of the bone meal, giving us access to so many different plants. So it all kind of makes sense, and I think that even though there are two very different vibes going on in here, it really all comes together still. But as nice as this all looked, there was a terrible tragedy that happened while I was doing some of this. Up here, I found some diamonds, and when I dug them out, I was placing some of the blocks back in, but my inventory was clogged, so I dropped my shovel. And I think it glitched into some of the blocks, and now I have kind of lost it. So I'll have to get another one of those next episode. However, I am a little bit pressed for time, so I think that that is a good stopping point for today. I don't think there's anything else that I would add to this, other than maybe getting the chests a little bit more organized. I was thinking about bringing a copper golem in here to sort stuff for me, but that might be a little bit difficult because of all of the armor and the bows and stuff. I don't really know how they work with specific durabilities and stuff. That might be something that I play around with next episode, but for today, I think that is all of the time that I have, so thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.